How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you all so very much for stopping by. I just wanted to say a big thank you to the subscribers. We've grown up to I think the latest count was 113, which is remarkable, because I thought if I could get 2 or 3 I'd be happy. But for each and every one of you that has subscribed, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. If you haven't subscribed but you're still checking out this video, thank you for that. It is much appreciated. My goal is not excuse me, my goal is not to be one of these big YouTubers that make $40,000-$50,000 a month for doing videos and whatnot with clickbait and all that good stuff. My goal is to do just everyday things to my car that you would do yourself to your car. And you know, if that helps one person, just one person, learn something new, then the job is well worth it, and I have done my job. That's our goal, to help each other, right? Humanitarian. But with that said, again, thank you very much. Now, to get back with the video, I'm sorry, I'm tongue-tied. To get back to the video, today we're going to discuss 8 things that every single car owner should know. Should know. If you don't even need a car. You need to call taxis or Ubers or whatever you have in your area. What are those things? Stay tuned, you'll find out. Now, the very first thing you should know as a car owner is what type of fuel your vehicle uses. Whether it be a truck, a car, SUV, it doesn't matter. All fuels are rated on what's called the ANI fuel additive system. And all that is anti-knock. That's all that rating is for. The higher performance car your is, the more anti-knock ingredients it needs, okay? Now, there's a lot of misconception about octane ratings and stuff. We won't go into that. Let's just say the lower performance your car is, the less octane you can get away with. The lowest in the United States being around 87. I have found some places that actually have 83, but generally speaking, 87 to 93, 94 will be your best, or your main ones. How do you find out your octane level that you need? Generally, if you're buying your car new, it will be on your sales sticker. It'll tell you what type of fuel you need. Most of the times, if you look at your gas hand, it'll say right across there, use only regular unleaded, use only high octane, use only premium, yada yada. Now, if your car does not have those, then by all means check your owner's manual that comes in your glove box. Okay? If it's not in your owner's manual, or if you, for some of you bought a used car and you don't have your owner's manual, Google is your friend. Type in, what type of fuel should I be using in my such and such vehicle? In this case, I'm in a Tahoe LT with a 5.3 liter. So what I would Google, what type of fuel should I be using with my V8 Tahoe? That's simple. But you should always know what type of gas you need. If your car is recommended to use regular unleaded, you are going to get no performance added by using the higher octane gas. And times are tough right now. I know everybody's trying to pinch pennies, but if your car is recommended to use premium, then you need to do that, because the way your car is set up computer-wise with all the sensors and all that stuff, in the long run, you could do more damage to your vehicle than you think by trying to save a few pennies. So always know that. Tip number 2 that you should know if you own a car is tire pressure. How to check your tire pressure. Well, why is that important? Well, number 1, if you have proper tire pressure, your gas economy will be where it's supposed to be. If your car is recommended that it gets 17 miles a gallon and your tire pressure is right and you're driving on city or highway, whichever one that is, you'll be very close to it. But if your tire is underrated, especially one tire over all 4 of them, if it's underinflated, you could get improper tire wear. It could cause bad fuel mileage and other things along that line. Now, with today's modern cars, you know, everybody relies on computers, gizmos, what have you, to tell you when something's wrong. And for the general part, they will. But you should still, even with all the electronics in the world, you should still know how to check your own tire pressure. How do you do that? Well, there's 2 ways. Like I said, in today's modern cars, you will have, let's see if I can get to the right one. You will have Might be in the wrong section. Yep. Sensors that will tell you, like my front tires, 33 and 31. Well, see, that one's too high. That should be 30 or 31. So I've got to adjust that. Back ones, 40 and 39. They're way too high. Now, with that said, even though it's a computer, it could still be wrong. So I have to manually check that. So let's get outside the car and check it. Now, if you'll look in your door when you open it, where it shuts, where the latch mechanism and everything, you should have a tire and loading information. Now what this does, let me rotate it so you can see a little bit. You look for the size of tires that you have, and then it'll tell you how much pressure you should have in those tires. So let's go check my tires and see, and we'll come back to that. Now I already know, but if you come on your tire, and these are dirty, so please forgive me, I have a P265 7017. Go back to that label. Right there, 265 7017. I should be at 30 psi. And as you noticed in that dash information center, I'm off a little bit. So let's go back to the back tire. So hold on. All right, now to do this is very simple. First, all you gotta do is locate your valve stem. Valve stem is where you put air in or let air out. Okay. Second thing you need is a air pressure gauge. Now you can get them real cheap at any auto store or Walmart or anything like that, from $1 all the way up to $100. Now I like to get the better ones that I can get. This one is very flexible. I can go almost any direction. If it's one that sits back in there, as you can see, I can get in. But with this one, it's liquid filled, so it's not going to be bouncing around everywhere. It's going to be more accurate than the real cheap ones. Plus, it also has this little button right here on the side. If my tires are overinflated, I could press that and let it out until the gauge comes down to where it needs to be. Now to do that, like I said, all you do is take off the valve stem cap. Whoop, and of course, drop it like I just did. See if I can hold this up here where you guys can see it. Take the end of it and put it on the valve stem. And as you can see, mine is showing 31 psi. Now why is that important? Because I know, manually checking, these back tires are at 31 psi, and on the instrument gauge it said 39. So my tire pressure monitoring system is off just a little bit. So that, never ever trust them. Now if I wanted to be anal about it, I could check it again. 31. Press that button, let it out just a little bit. .30 psi, dead on the money. Always be sure to put your cap back on and make sure it's tight. You don't have to just cinch it down, but you want it snug, okay? Now that we have that out of the way, this is going to be kind of a bonus for that part. Always, while you're doing it, check your tires. So just run your hand across it. Make sure that you're getting even wear across the whole pattern. Okay, after doing the tire pressure check, another thing you should know how to do, and this is more important than the tires, is know how to check your oil. How do you check your oil? It's very, very simple. Let me show you. First thing you're going to do is pop your door, and you have to excuse my vehicle. It is dirty, but we just got back from vacation, so I just want to do this video. You try to find your hood latch. It'll have a picture of your car with the open hood on it. Be that little line right there. You pull it, you'll hear it pop open. Then you'll come up here to the front of your car, stick your hand in between the opening and the grill, right in the middle. Move your hand back and forth. You'll feel the latch. Some of them you squeeze it and pull up, some of them you push to the side. This particular one I pushed over to the driver's side. Push it over, you'll hear it move and pick up on the hood. Now I've taken you off the tripod so I can show you. But this is what your hood latch looks like. It clips onto that when you shut it. But this particular one, you know, you pull the handle inside, it pulls on that cable right there. It moves this over just enough for that to pull up and catch right there. Stick your hand in, like I was telling you, move it back and forth till you find this, push it over, and you see how that moves that mechanism. Hold it over, pick up on your hood. That's all there is to raising your hood. Now, luckily in the United States, I can't say for everywhere else, but in the United States, all of our fluids, with the exception of being like windshield washer fluid, we'll get to that in a minute, are marked with yellow. This being the brake. And you should always familiarize yourself with everything that's under your hood. So when it's time to check it, in emergency sakes especially, you'll know where it's at. You come over here, got the coolant reservoir, which goes to your radiator. Then you've got your engine oil. It will, all your main important things will be always marked in yellow in the United States, unless it's an older vehicle. To check it, let me put you back on the tripod and I'll show you how to check your engine oil. Alright, all it takes to check your engine oil is a rag, a napkin or something, anything that you have that you can wipe the oil off on. The first thing you want to do, pull on it, break it loose, take your rag and put on it and wipe it off as you pull it. Now the engine should be cool when you do this, but if you're going down the road and your engine start making some funny noises and whatnot, then you're going to have to check it when it's hot. And you know, life happens. It's just the way it is. But just like knowing where everything is under your hood, you should also know your oil. You have these row of dots, okay, with hash mark lines on it. What you want to do is make sure that you fill your oil up to your top hash mark. Some of them will actually have two lines with an arrow in it, and all you're doing there is trying to get it in between the two arrows. That'll be recommended full. But either way, you wipe it off as you pull it. That way it gets it good and clean. There's nothing, no residue or anything stuck on it that has slid down or we're going to throw your reading off. Stick it in, pull it right back out. And as you can see on this one, like I said, we just got back from vacation. It's low. I need to put a quart of oil in there because I know that from that line to that line will be a quart, and that'll be to a half. Now, you don't want to overfill your oil. The reason being is, if you overfill your oil, it's going to be trying to dump it back in on top of your valves and stuff, on top of your cylinders, and that is very bad for your engine. But there's generally on the same side as your dipstick is your spot for filling oil. All you do is just twist that. Always wipe it off clean, and it will tell you what type of oil you need. I'm supposed to be using SAE 5W30 in this vehicle, and it tells you right here that it's in your owner's information book also. But all you do, this one I don't need it, but if I did need it, I'd put a small funnel in it and pour it into the funnel. And always have you a rag or a paper towel, like I said, napkin, something along that line, in case you drop some oil, which is going to happen from time to time. You'll spill a little bit of oil, so just take your rag and wipe it up real quick before it gets down on your exhaust or your engine. Put your cap back on and you're good to go. That's simple. And while we're under here, let me get you off the tripod real quick. While we're under here, step number, I think it's 4 now I'm up to, is your coolant. Do not open hot, very important. That's why they put it in these clear containers. But what you want to do is just check, visually check. There's always a mark on your, I'll get you down here so you can see it better. There's always a mark on your coolant reservoir. Sometimes it's down here, sometimes it's up here. This one is sitting on slight incline, but as you can see, this one is full. I'm trying to get you down here, I'm sorry. This one is full. Now, because of today's pressurized systems and everything, you do not want to fill in your radiator cap like the old engines. In other words, let me show you. You do not want to come over to your radiator cap and fill it up. And as you can see, this one doesn't even have a radiator cap. So this one is idiot proof. You always fill there. As the system heats up from driving it, when it cools down, it will pull in the appropriate amount of coolant. It heats up, it pushes out the excess, and it'll constantly cycle like that and keep itself full. Never fill through your radiator cap, because it puts in air. It'll put an air pocket, which can cause your coolant system to actually lock up in today's modern systems. It'll get an air pocket right there and won't allow coolant past it. Actually cause your car to overheat in certain circumstances, so don't do that. Along the same lines of, I guess this would be tip number 5. I'll probably have 9. Check your brake level fluid, okay? Check your fluid brake, God almighty. Check your brake fluid level. I'm trying to talk and think, chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. But like I told you, the main things are indicated by yellow. This tells you use DOT3, DOT3 brake fluid. Don't use anything else, because the boiling points of each brake fluid is rated depending on your type of vehicle. This one being a newer, higher advanced braking system with the weight of the vehicle and everything, it uses a fluid with a higher boiling point. And again, it will tell you, it'll give you 2 marks on there, full and low. As long as you keep it in between there, or in some cases it'll say hot and cold. But either way, as long as you keep it in between those 2 lines, you will always be good and safe to go. Now, the reason maintaining your fluid level for your brakes is important. Number 1, if it goes low constantly, and you notice it goes low because you're checking it, 2 things can be going on. The first thing is your brake pads are wearing. And the reason it does that is the fluid sitting in your reservoir and your lines, when you press that pedal, it pushes down. Okay, new brakes are so thick, so your fluid level with the brakes will be full. Now, when you push on them and your brakes wear, your brakes will be closer to the rotor, so the fluid will actually have to go into the brake lines more to keep the caliper pushed out, the pistons in the caliper. So that's number 1 thing that you can know by your brake fluid being low constantly. The second thing is, if you keep filling it up and it keeps going low, it can be indicative of a leak. You can have a brake line leak, a brake caliper leaking, one of the O-rings or seals in your rotors could be leaking. Calipers could be leaking. So, you have to check that or take it to a mechanic and have them check it. But it's important to know that, number 1, when it's full, that way you can monitor what it's doing. So that's why it's important to keep that checked. This next one, I'm just going to trying to keep track of numbers. This next tip there's 2 parts to it: windshield washer fluid and windshield wipers. Windshield washer fluid, depending on your vehicle, mine is located here. This one you can just fill it up until it's full, or you can visually see on the side right here. My level is clear, but you can see it's dark right here. Mine is currently sitting right there. So that's why they make these things kind of a transparent plastic, so you can look and see. But if you're doubtful, just pop that cap, fill it up, close it, good to go. Now, why is it important to have proper windshield washer fluid, you might ask, or level? Well, you're going down the road, rainstorm, you drive this thing regularly, you're going to get dust and road dirt on it and stuff. Wow, windy today. Okay, when you go into certain lighting situations, it can actually cause you to not be able to see. The dust will reflect or block a certain amount of light, and it's like you're trying to look through dirty glasses. Hit the button, squirt the windshield washer fluid on your windshield, you're good to go. Well, if you don't have proper windshield level in there, you're not going to have any washer fluid in it to squirt out on your windows. So then you can't clean it. That simple. It's a safety issue. Now, depending on where you live, you may never use your windshield washer fluid, but you should still have it, know where it's at, have it, and know how to check it. Next up, windshield wipers. Everybody runs into a rainstorm, hailstorm, snowstorm. Well, guess what? If you don't have properly maintained wipers, it's not going to clear that crap off your window. How can you see to drive if it's not on your window? But all you have to do to check them is pick it up, see if any of the rubber is falling off. Now mine, when I washed my car, I always clean my windshield wipers. I always clean them, so I know what shape they're in. What you want to do is check to see if they're hard. If they're hard and brittle, then it's time to change them. If they're still soft and pliable like mine are, and still have good depth to them, then you know you're good to go. If yours are hard and brittle, or they're real small, real thin, then you know it's time for new windshield wipers. Especially if it's not your car. Let's say like if it's your wife's car or your daughter's car, you want them to be safe at all times, so keep these things checked. Now this next thing is still in the engine compartment. I know this might get a little boring and repetitive, but it's still something very, very, very important. This one is so important on some of your newer cars. It's actually labeled in red, meaning danger, urgent, keep this checked. And what would that be? Is transmission fluid. Yep, the great old transmission fluid. If your transmission fluid is not maintained, properly checked, then how are you going to know that you can get in your car and reliably go down the street? Because if it's not, doesn't have the proper level in it, it can cause premature wear on your rings and joints and stuff inside the transmission. It could cause the transmission to strain because there's not a proper amount of fluid in it to engage all the gears and whatnot inside the transmission, and it could eventually tear your transmission up. Transmissions in some vehicles is very expensive. I've seen it go as high as $2,400–$2,500. Now if you're handy and you can do it yourself, well, you know, you can get by cheaper, but most of us don't want to spend the time under a vehicle and getting dirty and whatnot. Plus you won't have a warranty if you do it yourself. So here's how to check it, and I'll do it in just a second. First thing you want to do is make sure your vehicle's on a level ground, or as level as can be, as level as you have. You want to locate your dipstick for checking your transmission fluid. You want to crank your car up and let it run for 10–15 seconds. Let it warm up a little bit, let all the fluids have time to cycle through everything. And while you check it, leave the vehicle running, and then pull out the dipstick and check it like you would your engine oil. Pull it out, wipe it off, stick it back in, pull it out, and check it. That's simple. So let's get to it. Alright, here we are. I've had my engine running for about 30 seconds now. All I'm going to do is pull the lock to unlock it, pull it out like I did the engine oil, wipe it off as I go, and this one should be a little longer. You can see that's pretty long. And if you look, there are hash marks on there like there was on the oil. Your transmission fluid should be somewhere in there. Alright, we have it wiped off. You want to stick it back in. Make sure it's all the way in. Pull it back out. And check it. As you can see, this one is right at the top mark. Also smell it. The reason you smell it is if it smells burnt, and you'll know if it is. It's a very sour, awful smell. But if it's burnt, it's not going to do that much good. It's just as bad as running it low. So if it smells burnt, if it looks dirty, take it and have it changed. If it looks good and clean like that did, then I'm good to go. Oil level's full. Push the dipstick back in. Make sure if you have a lock like this one, make sure it's locked. And you're good. Transmission is perfect. Alright, let me take you off the tripod. The last thing you should know underneath your hood is how to check your air filter and where it's located. Now let me move this tripod. If you'll look under your hood, and it's going to be the same on just about all of them, but if you look under your hood, you're looking for a box that goes to this. Okay, this is your air intake under here. This air tube is what provides your engine with oil. It's going to be the same on all vehicles. You're going to have an air intake tube. Now all you do is follow that. Follow it. Go into like a little baffle and a sensor, and then a box. Inside that box is where your air filter is. It picks up air, in most cases, from inside your fenders, which is a clean, non-dirty source of air, and then it runs it through there and then into your engine. But you should know at least where it's at. And by all means, I think it's very important for you to know how to change it. The reason for that is, again, gas economy and wear and tear on your vehicle. If that filter gets dirty, clogged up, it can't breathe right. Well, you know how it is when you have a cold. Your nose is stopped up, you can't breathe. If you can't breathe right, your internal engine, your heart, your lungs and everything, doesn't get enough oxygen to work properly. So what happens is you run slower and you feel more tired when you do it. Well, your engine is the same exact way. If this filter, your nose, gets clogged up with cold and dirt, then your heart, your engine, your lungs can't breathe properly. Makes you feel bad, makes you not run as properly, and makes you strain more. When you strain, you wear stuff out. Now, this one, all I have to do is take the 4 screws out. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate this because this one is a little bit of a pain. I mean, screwdriver or Allen key in this case. And just take the 4 screws out. This whole assembly, the reason it has this flex on it is so that you can lift this up enough to get the filter out. Take it out, check it. If it's dirty, and this is your only vehicle, put it back in, go to the parts store and get one. If it's not your only vehicle, just let it sit here. No reason in doing it twice if you don't have to. And go to the parts store and buy you a new one. That's simple. I mean, these things that I'm telling you are very, very simple to do, very, very simple to check, and most of them can tell you if you're going to have problems in the near future with your engine, your rear end, vice versa, and so on and so forth. Because all these, if you know what you're looking for, have signs. And I've given you a few signs, you know, to check and everything. And I don't know, I hope you pick up on a few of these things. And if you have somebody in your family, like a child or your wife, and she doesn't know where these things are, by all means, take the time to take her out there and show her. At least let her know where the windshield fluid, you know, the more important things is, like windshield washer fluid, and how to check the oil. And at least how to check the air in your tires, because those things are very important. Now I have one more tip for you, something everybody should know. So let's shut the hood and we'll go around. I'll show you. Oh man, I wish I was still in the mountains. The wife and I went on a week trip to the mountains. And I wish I was still there, to be honest. So nice up there. Now this one, some vehicles you need it switched on to check, some of them you don't. This one I'm going to switch it on just because I'm that type of person. And what this tip is, and what it has to do with, is lighting. Why is lighting important? To help you see, duh. Inside the vehicle. Outside the vehicle is, some of it's there to help you see. Some of it is there for to help other people see you. Now, you know, while we're in the vehicle, I'll show you. Just look at your lighting. Make sure it works. You can see all mine all the way back. Sorry for the tilted camera angle, but I wasn't gonna twist around. I'm lazy today. Look at your instrument cluster. Make sure everything's working. Make sure you don't have any extra lights on. If you have extra lights on, this one flashing is just letting me know that my seatbelt is not on, or I don't have my seatbelt on. And it'll ding 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 in a few seconds, let me know that I don't have it on. But if you have an extra light on there outside of your ambient glow, look in your owner's manual or Google to find out what it means. Because you know, with today's car, if you have low tire pressure, it'll let you know. If your engine's low in oil, it'll tell you to check engine, service engine, so on and so forth. So it's important, you know, to know these things, and you know, just generally look. But let's get outside the vehicle. Now I'm not going to show you this one per se because I don't have anybody out here to help me with the vehicle, but you want to check your brake lights. Make sure they work. Have it there. and there, and there. You want to make sure those work. Pretty self-explanatory. You want people behind you to see that you're stopping. That way you don't get rear-ended. But I don't have anybody out here to help me right now to demonstrate that. But it's very simple. You know what a brake light is. Make sure your running lights, if your vehicle is equipped with running lights, are working. Again, that way if you're going down the road, somebody knows there's a vehicle in front of them. And in most states, you have to do this. You have to make sure that your tag lights are working. That way, if there's an officer behind you and he needs to run your tag, or you're involved in a wreck and you know you're unconscious, and they need to be able to see your tag so that they can know who you are, number one. Number two, see if you're a wanted felon so they can pull you over. But also, it's just another safety issue. I mean, you got two red lights over there, cool. Then you got a white light in front of you. It's just something extra to help you see. Then as we walk around the vehicle, this one doesn't have side markers on the back. Come on up to the front. It does have side markers on the front. One there, and this one has daytime running lights, so make sure they work while you're up here. Again, marker there. Sorry for blinding you. That one's working. That one's working, and you have turn signals. To check your turn signals, pull down is left, and as you can see, I've got the little blinker on there telling me I'm making a left-hand turn, so that's working. Walk to the back of the vehicle. You can see it blinking. It's working there. Walk to the front of the vehicle. It's working there to let everybody know I'm turning. Right side's the same way. Again, working. And the reason that's important is, number one, another safety issue. People need to see you at all times to keep from hitting you. And number two is, it warns them what you're fixing to do. So turn that off. Now this one is equipped with fog lights. So let's check them. Push the fog light button. Come around front. And as you can see down there, it's working. Go to the other side. It's working. But yeah, make sure all your lights are working. Make sure you know what those lights are for. Because how you going to check them if you don't know what they're for and where they're at? Turn those back off. But yeah, that's my tips, recommendations that every single car owner should know. If you don't know these things, you really shouldn't be driving. But I just wanted to bring this to your attention and give you some recommendations on what to check, what to teach other family members in your household, why you have them, and so on and so forth. So, with that being said, I hope you have a great day out there. You know what to do. Take care. See you next video. I don't know what number tip we're on. Doesn't matter. It's just things we all ought to know. Also, what you should know in your vehicle, and it's not necessary to know every single thing or how to operate every single thing, but by all means familiarize yourself with the car. Hey, why do you want to have a car and not know how it works? Well, everybody knows where the key goes. Everybody knows what pedal does what. Gas pedal, brake pedal, certain cars clutches, and then the emergency brake. But everything else, you know, radio controls, temperature controls, cruise control, your lighting, your windshield wipers, so on and so forth. Just make yourself acquainted with it, make yourself familiar with it. I know as you own your car longer and longer and longer, these things become second nature. But if it's a newer vehicle to you, or you've got somebody, say a child, that is just now getting their driver's license or learning how to drive, it's important for them to know the layout of the vehicle, where everything is located. With that said, I want to backtrack to the tires, okay? It's very important, along with maintaining tire pressure and checking your tire tread, knowing where your jack is in your vehicle and knowing where your spare tire is. I'm sorry I forgot and left that out. I do apologize, but I'm adding it now. Make sure you and anybody that drives your vehicles in your house know where those things are, because let's face it, accidents happen. You don't want them stranded on the side of the road, standing there relying on somebody else to come up and help them, because you never know who that person is. It's better to know how to do it and stand out there and sweat and get dirty than to risk some stranger coming up and something happening. God forbid it would. And I know I would feel guilty, and I never let it go myself if something would happen to my family member because they don't know. But I'm certain that you would also. You just wouldn't be able to live with yourself. So I just thought some of these tips would help you out, make everybody in your family safe. You guys have a blessed day, and we'll see you next time.